Mr. Pranger. I'm James. I am the head general manager here at Meierotto Farm Corp. Wanted to thank you for coming into the interview today.
Sure.
How's your trip up?
Oh, it wasn't too bad. I noticed there's a lot of farm equipment out on the roads because of harvest time this time of year.
Sure, absolutely. This time of the year things are getting a little bit crazy, especially in this business. I know you were kind of from a farming area. You kind of explained in your emails that you weren't necessarily in the industry, but luckily this position has nothing to do with the actual industry itself. We're looking for essentially technical account manager type of situation.
Okay.
I'm not sure how much you looked into our site, but overall, we're just kind of looking for someone that can work off of our technical systems, get things running. Farming may seem pretty easy from the outside, but on the actual inside of the business, everything is server based, electrical based. It's all pretty crazy. There's a lot of systems essentially that need to be overseen. I looked at your resume and you have quite a bit of experience both between your education as well as past jobs, being involved within these types of situations, running computer systems, setting things up, and basically working in that regard. Tell me a little bit about yourself, elaborate a little bit on your past experiences, and just kind of explain to me why you might be a pretty good fit here at Meierotto Ag.
Well, I'm from a small town in southeast Iowa, a nice little rural community, and so I love farming. It's been in my family for a little bit. I haven't really personally done a whole lot of farming, but it's my uncles and things like that, or my uncles have done quite a bit of farming, and so I originally went to school at Southeastern Community College for electronics technology and biomedical equipment technology. And then I transferred to the University of Iowa and studied health informatics there. So I've got a good experience with non-relational databases, geographic information science. I'm sure you use that a lot on your tractors and things like that. And I know geographic information science is really, really important for farming nowadays. And I was just really interested in working for your company.
Sure. Now that you bring up the systems behind that is actually one of the most important things that we end up running. In today's world, automation has taken over. It's kind of where guys like you come into play. Running these automation systems, we constantly have to update. Land is always changing. Essentially, working in systems, we primarily work with a system called Precision. It's a John Deere-based system where essentially it's an auto steering, where it automatically steers all of our equipment while you're in the field, whether it be planting, plowing, cultivating, whatever it is. Basically, what we're looking at is someone to map out these fields, to run surveys on the fields, set things up so that our laborers can run our equipment worry-free, everything working 100%. You're kind of that guy to work the system and kind of go through there. Your background seems to be more in the health systems, but I feel like that can really transfer over, kind of get you out of the office atmosphere, more out into the field. I feel you being a young individual, that's really going to help out. How are you working with other individuals? We have a pretty heavy employee base here. Do you get along well? I noticed that you worked at Hy-Vee for a while.
Oh, yeah.
I know that had a lot of customer interaction, I'm sure. Can you kind of explain maybe how you are on a personal level, maybe some Hy-Vee experiences?
Sure.
Something that kind of says that customer service can kind of relate to working with employees or other individuals that may come in.
Yeah, sure. I worked at Hy-Vee for about 4 or 5 years, and it sounds like you already know, Hy-Vee is a lot of customer service. So it's like you're constantly dealing with people, talking to people, trying to solve problems for people. Just you constantly have customer interaction, employee interaction. There's a lot of people that work in a store. There's a lot of people that come through a store on a daily basis. So it's constantly talking to people while you're working. So I think that's always a really good aspect. Like customer service is everything nowadays in pretty much any industry, I think. So, yeah, I mean, as far as I think I get along with people pretty well. I feel like I definitely do. I've always done pretty well with other people. I can work with other people really well. Group projects in school, we've always been able to get things done rather well, and yeah. I have a question for you. How's your work environment here at Meierotto Farm Corp?
It is rather dirty.
Dirty?
You,
Okay.
you are doing some outside work, essentially a daily basis, just basically running down what you'll do from day to day, especially this time of the year. You'll be running around with a laptop. You'll be plugging into all of our systems, whether it be grain management transfer systems, like I would say before precision systems, working with the GO, the metric systems for those, getting all those set up. Anytime any of our laborers have issues, we'd be calling you to come in, fix these computers, basically get them going, because whenever those guys are down, we're down. That's downtime. The company's not doing anything at that point, and time is money, as you know. So you'd basically be on call. You'd have your own company truck. You'd be moving back and forth, going with that, and basically having patience and understanding with those individuals is really important, because obviously they're not getting paid if they're not working. So you're kind of their lifeline. And that's kind of why I bring up the whole Hy-Vee situation. With that being said, can you explain maybe a time at Hy-Vee where you had a customer that wasn't as nice, maybe someone that wasn't happy with something that you've done? I noticed that you worked in produce. I know that's a very popular end in Hy-Vee. Just give me a situation where maybe you had an uncomfortable customer.
Well, there's been a lot of times where you have uncomfortable customers. Obviously, in produce, produce goes bad, so it can be hard to keep an eye on everything and make sure that you have all of the freshest product on the shelf all the time. So, sometimes you do have some bad product on the shelf, and people don't like that. People are spending their hard-earned money on that food. So it's, I always tried my best to keep things as fresh as possible for people, but sometimes, one time in particular, I had some spotted tomatoes, and a lady had bought some and came back to the store later on and, calmly dealt with her. And what we did was we can either exchange them or, just give her a refund. So that's usually how I handle it, just customer service, really.
Sure.
It's
It's definitely good having that customer experience. Can kind of help you both many different levels, kind of get personal interaction, be better, personality kind of grows from it, everything along that line. I also noticed from your resume you haven't really had any full-time work, which is understandable because going to college and you're a young individual. You did have an internship with the VA hospital in Iowa City. Can you kind of explain what you did there?
Sure. At the VA, I worked in the biomedical engineering department in biomed. Like I mentioned before, I have a degree in biomedical equipment technology. So for that degree, I had to do a internship for school, which it was a semester-long internship, and I really enjoyed it. So essentially what I did was I worked on medical equipment, calibrating, preventative maintenance, that kind of stuff. It was on a real entry level in a hospital. It was a really good work environment. I really enjoyed it, and I had to work with a lot of other techs. There's a lot of patients in a hospital that you, as a biomed tech, you have to walk around the hospital, you have to talk to people, you have to go out and find the equipment that you need to work on sometimes. And so it's the customer service from Hy-Vee really did transfer to working in a hospital atmosphere as well, which I really enjoyed my internship there. So
Sure. The reason I ask and you bring up the whole calibration, that is 90% of your job here. Calibrating fields, getting things set up. There's a lot of it involved in that, and definitely you have some experience with that. We're in a small area, very small area. I know you being young, liking to get out there, move around, and you went to school and worked in Iowa City. A little bit of a bigger environment, a lot more people around. Around here, it's a little bit slower. I know you grew up here, and there's not quite as much going on. And the reason I asked that, with you being young, where do you see yourself in 5-10 years? Is this an environment you want to stay in, or are you just looking for something that's going to be just a part-time gig for a couple of years to gain experience? Because ultimately, we're looking for people for the long term.
Right.
And where do you see yourself 5-10 years, somewhere in there?
Well, 5-10 years from now, I see myself. I like this area, so I'd like to stay around this area, and obviously, I really like your company. So, hopefully, in 5-10 years, maybe being here, hopefully, and working in maybe database management and systems technician for you guys or something like that. So hopefully staying around here and working in agriculture sounds like a pretty good future to me.
Sure. I guess with that, I'm looking for people that go above and beyond. That's a big thing, especially here. we're a growing company. We've been growing. We've expanded over 50% in the last 5 years. So we're constantly looking for people to come in, finding ways to expand, do things smarter. We like working smarter, not harder. With your previous positions, I know that you've had a mix of manufacturing experience, grocery, customer service, as well as your hospital experience and your education. With that, of all those things, what is the biggest thing, or what do you see as the biggest thing you've accomplished out of all that?
Probably my experience working in a hospital as my internship. That was it was just a really I got a lot of work experience, I think, doing that, and it was a rather large hospital. The VA is a large hospital, so there was always constant work to do, and I kept busy, and I just really enjoyed my internship there. So.
Sure. With you in this position, you're essentially, in a sense, going to be overseeing a few employees because you're, like I said, the lifeline. With your previous experience, what is something that you saw? Because I'm sure you had managers, supervisors, everything. What is something that you could see, 3 things that maybe that former manager should improve on? Or what is something that you see in upper management that should really, you see as almost a reoccurring thing, jumping from business to business, something that could really help with the life of the laboring employees, and just a few things that can really just show what you could do as a manager to improve quality of life, essentially.
Yeah, I think getting more in touch with managers, getting more in touch with their employees is always a good thing. That's a recurring problem that I've seen through a lot of my jobs. Another thing is, even though I worked at Hy-Vee, even managers sometimes weren't very good at customer service. Even the lower level employees like me, I thought I handled customers better than some of the managers did sometimes. And people skills is always really important. And sometimes you don't see managers that really have people skills, which I think I have. And so yeah, that's what I think. Customer service, people skills, things like that.
Sure. Yes, that's pretty much everything we have today. For the first interview anyway. Is there anything maybe you want to ask me, or do you have any questions at all?
As of right now, not off the top of my head, not really, no.
Sure. Well, Mr. Pranger, I appreciate you coming in and spending a little bit of time with me today. Like I said before, we have a few other candidates. If we choose to go forth to the next step with you, I'll definitely be giving you a call within the next few days. And again, I appreciate you stopping in.
Yeah, all right, thank you for your time.